Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about in 4 parts, so it'll be split up in 4 just like I did with my pet deck, Strafon. Edge of Eternities, the space themed deck or set, but we're going to talk about the Landfall deck, the deck I chose to play out of the two. I've noticed in my area anyway, more people are playing the Jeskai one. I haven't played it yet, so when I do, I'm sure I'll like it, but this one, my first ever Landfall deck, and I honestly am enjoying it. I played it the whole night, 3 or 4 games straight. I just couldn't get enough of it, and that was before I had the chance to upgrade it. I did some minor upgrades. There's a few game changers in here. It's not completely set and done yet, but you'll see one incredible card that I upgraded once we get to the lands. But as usual, we'll start with the creatures here. All right, first up on my deck, in my deck, is Lotus Cobra. It's got a landfall trigger, of course. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. That'll help with some of the higher cost stuff, and this is only a 2-drop, 2 CMC drop, so it's not going to be so bad to get out. And it'll help as your lands are coming in, sacking lands, bringing new lands in, and playing them from your graveyard and such. You'll get a whole bunch of mana out of it. At least that's the goal. Azusa, which was not in the deck either. I almost didn't add this. I was very close. You get to play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. In the deck, there's many ways for me to play lands. I can play them from the top of my library, from my hand, and from my graveyard. Azusa allows me 2 extra, so I can essentially play 1 from each 3 if she's out, each of the 3. The next one, Sylvan Safekeeper, again, an add by me. Sack a land, target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn. Similar to Hexproof, only you yourself cannot target either. But anyway, great card, wonderful in this deck. Just sacking the lands, I'm able to bring them back, at least that's the goal. And then Bristly Bill, a huge hitter here. 2 CMC, 1 green, 1 colorless, a landfall trigger as well. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Then for 3 and 2 green, double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. This doesn't have a big counter sub-theme, like 1/1 counter sub-theme yet, but I plan to work on that within this deck. So that might be an added little sub-theme of the deck at some point. So Bristly Bill's our tester. This was an addition just this morning after I'd already done my upgrades. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, this card gets +2/+2 until end of turn. On the flip side, if you can see, is also a land. I have a few more of these I didn't add that I might show y'all later, but enters the battlefield tapped, add a green mana. I have ways to, my lands can enter untapped. But in either case, goes to the graveyard. I'll get it back later. This was one I saw on someone else's page, someone I follow, Offspring 2, so I can get a copy of him, right? But the landfall trigger is what I wanted most. Whenever a land you control enters, this deals 1 damage to target opponent. Now, if I have 2 of them, and if there's a few other cards I got to go hunt down, red cards that are creatures that do a similar effect as that, and it's going to be great in this deck because that's what. I'd rather have that than the 1/1 counter sub-theme, where I'm just pinging people based on lands entering. Here's another one, Ancient Green Warden. It's got reach, protect me against some flyers. You may play lands from your graveyard. As I was telling you earlier with the 2 additional lands each turn. There you go. Now I'm at a point where I can play them from my hand and my graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers a second time, an additional time. That's incredible to me. It's high, it's 6 mana, but I can work with that. You know, we have the Cobra to help with that. Not to mention the other lands in the deck. This came in the deck, Titania. When Titania enters, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever a land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. That's incredible. Now I can get some blockers out there when I'm sacking lands as an extra thing going on in here. Augur of Autumn, 3 mana, 2 green, 1 colorless. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands from the top of your library. Now I have all 3 unlocked if I have them all out. And that's what I want, is to get those 3 out as soon as possible. I don't have a lot of tutors in the deck yet. I want to see how it goes with this, see which creatures I need to cut, and so on, because there's a lot of creatures in this deck while I'm kind of messing with it. Horizon Explorer, another fun one. Lands you control enter untapped. That's a pretty cool thing. Whenever you attack a player, create a lander token, which is essentially a sack outlet. You pay 2, sack it, go search for a basic land. That's cool. The Gitrog monster came in the deck. If you've played Magic for a while, you know the Gitrog monster. I've only been playing Magic for, I think, 3 years, 4 years, 2 of that very consistently. And the Gitrog is a nightmare to deal with. Tanuk is something I added to the deck, if I remember right. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I pulled him from a pack. Incredible. This is what spawned the idea for Iridescent. Because lands were coming in and I was pinging people. And I was like, whoa, that is incredible. Why is the deck not doing that more? All these lands coming in. I mean, I had 10 lands in at one point and I was able to bring even more in that same turn. Incredible. But yeah, awesome, fun. Corvold, flying. Whenever Corvold attacks, sack another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a 1/1 counter on Corvold and draw a card. Nice. Braids, I considered not keeping in, but at the same time, this is a very good card. After I got to reading it and thinking about it more, and the reason I almost didn't is because of the May ability. So at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their choice that shares a card type with what you just sacrificed. For each opponent who does not, that player loses 2 life and I get to draw a card. That's a lot better than I thought, because I'm going to be sacrificing lands constantly. I mean, the commander, I forgot to kind of point that out. The commander has a spaceship or a spacecraft, so you tap creatures to get these 2 abilities, right? And they can't be, you know, tapped to attack. I learned this playing this last week. It's, you got to tap them to use their power to get this up. So you can't be tapping, attacking. It's just got to be tapping to add to that. Anyway, the first 2, you pay 1, tap, sack a land, draw 2 cards. You may play an additional land. That in and of itself is not bad at all, honestly, because you get your land back when you play a land if you have it in your hand. A landfall deck, you should. But 8+ is where it's at. Flying, vigilance, haste. Whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. How wild is that? That's adding into that pinging thing I've got going on. My Caesar deck, maybe I'll break that down for y'all sometime too. That's more of an attack versus token deck. My buddy has a token version of it. But anyway, that one focuses on pinging people constantly. 1 here, 1 there, 2, 3 sometimes. I really come to like that. Omenath, of course, is in the deck. Omenath, landfall trigger as well. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token. Whenever Omenath or another elemental you control dies, Omenath deals 3 damage to any target. There's not a lot of elementals in the deck, but I can create a good chunk. So, you know, that could potentially help me. Then you have Scoot Swarm, of course. This is a very famous landfall card. I mean, he comes out on the battlefield, it's not going to make it more than a turn or 2 anyway, which is okay. You know, I'd rather people be targeting my Scoot Swarm than some of these other things that need to be happening. But if you don't know, when Scoot Swarm, whenever it's on the battlefield, it has landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that is a copy of Scoot Swarm. It gets nasty, and it gets nasty fast. In a landfall deck, you're going to have more than 6, right? If you play 1, now you have a copy of Scoot. So you have 2 of these, right? And then you play your second land for the turn from Azusa, for example. Each of them are going to create a copy of each of them. So now you have 4 on the same turn, right? Now you play a land from your graveyard. You're able to do that with some of the cards in the deck. That's your 3rd land. So now those 4 I have are each going to create another one. Now I have 8 in the same turn. That is why this is nasty. And I need more protection in this deck. But this is still in its test phase. Infancy of me building it. Well, upgrading the precon. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. It's a secret lair. I can't remember which one it came from, but it's from 2020. Anyway, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So I don't have to, when this is out, I don't have to worry so much about mana fixing. And then Groundskeeper is for 2 mana, return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. I'll be sacking those basics constantly if this is out instead of some of my better lands, unless it's a sack land. Then of course that always gets brought back in so that I can keep doing that. If not with that. But anyway, Sprouting Goblin. I considered dropping this card for a few other cards, but it's got a kicker green, so it's 1 red plus kicker green. When this creature enters, if it was kicked, sacrifice or search your library for a land card with a basic land type. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Now for 1 red at the bottom, you can tap, sack a land, and draw a card. So that is why I kept it in, is that one bottom line. I want sack outlets for my lands, and I want card draw. Otherwise, and maybe I'll find a better version, a different card. But anyway, Multani, so reach, trample. Multani gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land card in your graveyard. For 2 mana, I can return 2 land cards I control to my hand and return this from the graveyard. This one is Loamcrafter Fawn, I believe. Whenever this creature enters, you may discard 1 or more land cards. When you do, return up to that many target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So that'll be nice to be able to bring some recursion, bring some stuff back. This is the second commander of the deck, and I chose the spacecraft because I think there's more utility out of it. This is flying. You may play lands from your graveyard, which is a good ability. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of 1/1 counters equal to this creature's power on up to 1 other target creature. Now that's good, that's okay, it's pretty decent honestly, but it's not beating the spacecraft in my opinion, it's just not. This is a fun one though. Soul of Windgrace? Yeah. Whenever Soul of Windgrace enters or attacks, you may put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. So it's any graveyard from a graveyard, anybody's graveyard. So if you're running low on graveyard lands, well, take somebody else's. For a green, discard a land card, you gain 3 life. For 1 and a red, discard a land card, draw a card. For 2 and a black, discard a land card, Soul of the Windgrace gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. So it's not going to get destroyed so easily, right? As long as you have the mana available. Rampaging Balos, of course, came in the commander. Trample, another landfall. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, create a 4/4 green beast creature token. This one was fun, and I almost bumped it as well, but it went off twice when I played last week. So flying, whenever you sacrifice a land, create a tap token that's a copy of this creature if 7 or more land cards are in your graveyard. Otherwise, create a tapped 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. I do not like that they come in tapped. I don't, and that's one of the reasons I almost dropped this card, but I sacrifice a lot of lands in the deck, so I'm getting a lot of those tapped creatures, and they'll make it through a turn. You know, they're pretty weak for the most part, but then you have blockers and flying blockers for that. So that's why it stayed, because flying is a pretty big thing in Magic right now. The Dragon deck just came out. You have these spacecrafts that a lot of them have flying. That's out here now, and the vampires and stuff like that. So there's a lot of flying out there right now. It's good to have some reach or flying blockers. Mayhem Devil, whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, this creature deals 1 damage to any target. So another pinger. And a big sucker, Tifa Lockhart. And you already know, if you've been watching any of my videos, even though there's not very many of them right now, I love full art and extended art. I love it, I love it, I love it. My Strafon deck will eventually be all that if I can do it. And if I continue to love this deck as much as I do currently, this will too. But anyway, Tifa, if you don't know, is trample, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. Wow, very, very good. But yeah, those are the creatures in my deck right now for my landfall deck.